I was impacted because I was always asked two questions in my life that I didn't know how to answer. What do you want to be when you grow up? And how do you make friends? There's a time where I didn't know how to answer any of those. Throughout my life, even though I would make friends and have close friends here and there, I never really knew how I was making them because I never really thought about it. They were just there. They understood me. They could talk to me about the things that we had in common. We could, have fun. We could joke. We could laugh. And so I had friends, but I didn't know how I was making them. But I only had to answer that question when I had trouble making friends. And what do I want to be when I grow up was something I never knew how to answer until I was about 18 years old. And shortly before that, I was, not very good at getting jobs. It wasn't even until I was 17 that I actually got my first job interview outside of, a job that my dad set me up with. But the reason I bring that up is because right around the time I got that first job interview, I also had a really interesting experience. Right before I graduated high school, I took a course called Communications Technology. Now, that doesn't sound like a very exciting class. And when I looked at the course description and I was registering for classes in senior year, it said, you will learn how to use radio and communications tech as well as cameras. I'm like, okay, sounds like it's probably going to be mostly taking pictures. But on the first day of the class, my Comtech teacher, Mr. McConnell, threw up a projector, and on the projector he played the opening scene of The Lion King. And we all know that opening scene with the sunrise. And so that scene, that experience was detrimental to me because I had seen that scene like probably 50 times over. The Lion King was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and still is today. And you better believe I'm going to go see the remake, just as a quick side note. So after that scene was done, Mr. McConnell said, now, you're probably not going to create that scene to the letter like. You're probably not going to create that scene, but what you are going to do, but that scene was an emotional experience. You're here to give back an emotional experience by making a movie. So that really resonated with me. So in short, the class, I thought we were going to be tinkering with old radios and old cameras, but no, the goal of the course was to make a movie with your group and screen it to the class by the end of the semester. Now, I thought, filmmaking sounds like a really fascinating career. I'd like to try it. But in filmmaking, just like the autism spectrum itself, it is so diverse. When I say I'm a filmmaker, what my specialty is I direct, I write scripts, and I also do videography work on the side. I'm actually the videographer at the Toronto MoMondays when I'm not here. So, how I got there was through a painful process of trial and error and figuring out what kind of film jobs I liked. In this Comtech class, I discovered that audio jobs weren't for me, photo op jobs weren't for me. I wasn't very good at editing or sound design or Photoshop, but I was good with the camera and I was good with getting certain shots and practicing different camera work. And that led me to a co-op program at Rogers TV. And I sucked at that at first. In fact, one day I screwed up so badly that my supervisor, who was the director of the show I was working on, told me in the harshest way I've ever been spoken to smarten up. And that's really stung because I knew I had screwed up bad. And I thought I was fired. Even worse, the next day, my co-op teacher, who was there to kind of talk to the supervisor at the co-op placement to talk about how the student is doing and how he's progressing, my co-op teacher had a meeting with that director the next day. And I was so nervous that my teacher was going to come back and saying, Evan, Eric, the director, is recommending that you go in a different direction. What? I was not expecting that. Because in my mind, I thought to myself, okay, because I made a mistake, I'm done. But that was a little sign to just keep going. And so that semester at Comtech, led to another semester at Comtech, so I could work on a couple more shows. And then that led me to enrolling in college at the Toronto Film School. Now, if you've ever been to film school, one thing I could tell you is on the first day or the first week, everyone in your class is going to want to direct. Everyone in the class is going to want to be the next Spielberg. And that's an interesting thing about film school. It's a fascinating clash of egos. My ego, I hadn't discovered my ego yet, but I would. I tried later on. The first time we had a lab assignment, I tried to direct a makeshift project in the studio at our school. And I didn't know anything about directing. In fact, it got to the point where one of my classmates said, "Hey, Evan, do you mind if I direct?" And I'm like, "Sure, go ahead." He directed, and the rest of the shoot went smoothly. Because I didn't know what I was looking for or what it meant to be a director. I just jumped right in and thought it would be fine. But once I learned, you have to direct a movie, you have to know this, and this. Okay, maybe this isn't for me. I'll try something else. So I coasted through film school, figuring out what am I going to do. And then towards the end of my program, once again, our class was tasked with the assignment of make a short film and screen it before the end of the program. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to try this again. So I contacted my friend Sarah and told her, and asked her to produce the short film idea I had. And she said yes. And then about many months later, because the process of making a movie is a very long and technical journey of uncertainty and late nights and lack of sleep, my first short film ever was released on Vimeo.com. And that led me to make another short film while I was juggling other jobs. So my dream of full-time employment in the film industry was born because after film school, I was back out in the world and once again was tasked with, okay, your friends have all gone back home and you need to find a job to pay your bills. So what are you going to do? That's what I was asking myself. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to try and be a director. I'm going to try and make that my career. And from then on, it was just come up with, for the past that was 6 years ago when I graduated film school and I decided that for myself. And ever since then, it's been a journey of dip your foot into a project, have some projects actually go ahead and come forward, coming up with ideas, throwing away ideas. It's a very diverse process. But all through that, I've learned a very profound lesson that while I'm making my dreams all work, the key thing to be a filmmaker is it's not about how skilled you are. Your skill is only a small factor. But what really makes you approachable in the film industry and in life in general is if you're good with people. And that was proven to me when I was networking at the Toronto International Film Festival. And I met this fellow at an after party. His name was Chris. And I had this idea for a documentary that I had been toying with for a while. And I pitched it to him right before he was leaving the party. And he's like, you know what, Evan, that's a good idea. Here's my card. Give me a call. I gave him a call, and we set up an email with him and his partner. And we've been developing documentary ideas ever since. And we're actually on the fast track right now to getting a green light for our latest idea. And I knew that on the day our relationship, just as filmmakers and friends began, they said, Evan, we are personally and professionally invested. And that was a very profound thing that they told me. And these collaborators are more than just collaborators. They're my friends. They're also like more than friends. They feel like family to me because we can talk a lot about anything. And so I did bring up superheroes earlier, and the reason why I think I love superheroes so much is because through all they're different from the rest of us because some of them have powers, some of them have gifted minds, some of them have a dosage of gamma radiation that makes them really angry. So, but those guys and girls have their quirks, but they use them for good. And even though they're not always understood, they continuously put forth their message, and that's what really inspires me as a person. And I want to leave my own profound mark on the world someday with my gifts. Thank you, Brampton.